Right now, Guild Wars 2 is running a massive PvP event. For anyone who doesn't play MMOs, PvP just means player versus player. Basically, it's an arena where we beat each other up for digital prizes. My goal today is to reach level 20 so that I can finally unlock ranked, which is where the sweaty professional players hang around. I started at level 16 thinking this would be an easy walk in the park. Boy, I was wrong. To begin my journey, I decided on a build to play for the entirety of the grind. I played Engineer Holosmith. Now, if you don't play Guild Wars 2, all you need to know is that this class comes with a unique heat mechanic. Think of it like driving a sports car, but you permanently tap your foot to the gas pedal. As I fight, my heat bar goes up, making my attacks hit way harder. The catch: if I let the bar fill up completely, my character literally explodes, overheats, and self-inflicts massive damage. So, the goal is to ride the edge of blowing myself up without actually doing it. Safe to say, taking this into a chaotic PvP arena as a newer player was a recipe for pure disaster. But with this build ready, it was time to queue up for the first match. Going into the first match, I tried to remember what I've learned from playing PvP before. But since that was back when I was still leveling up my characters, it's been a long while. My instinct was to play similar to how I do in World vs World. You see, in World vs World, you usually have a massive group of players constantly pumping you full of boons, which is just Guild Wars 2 language for magical shields, heals and buffs. In the 5v5 arena, however, you're completely on your own. Without those training wheels protecting me, I was much more vulnerable, and the entire enemy team wasted no time punishing me for it. Deciding to try something else, I decided to backcap them. This is basically just sneaking behind the enemy lines and capturing their unguarded point. And even though I managed to down some players, it was pretty evident that my skill was severely lacking. And yeah, I was probably the reason we lost this close game. You see, in Guild Wars 2 PvP, every time a team gets a kill, they instantly get 5 points. We were neck and neck at the very end, and my death was the deciding points for the enemy team. As you can see right here. Going down like that hurt, but it was a massive wake-up call. I needed to change something, and fast. During the next game, things were actually looking up. I got a clean finish and some really nice knockdowns. I was sitting there thinking, okay, everything is finally improving and I got this. But that is exactly where the disaster struck. My internet went down, completely dead. And I didn't just blink out for a second. It stayed down for an entire day. My momentum, destroyed. My rank dream, lost. I was officially defeated by my own internet provider. When I finally got my internet back an entire day later, I thought it couldn't get worse. Boy, I was wrong. Because this is exactly when I accidentally queued up with my hammer equipped instead of my sword and shield. And if you don't know how Engineer works in PvP, you can't change your weapons once you're in combat. This made for a grueling game. I could barely do any damage, and I knew I was one of the biggest reasons we were losing. It just couldn't get worse, right? Well, when I eventually get out of the game and check my equipment, I also realized that I've been on the wrong template the entire time. I'd spent hours sacrificing both my damage and my survivability. How stupid. But with that finally fixed, the only way was forward. And the improvement was slowly but surely arriving. With my build actually put together properly, everything changed. Over the next few games, I wasn't just surviving, I was pumping out serious damage, landing crucial knockdowns and securing finishes left and right. Suddenly, the Holosmith heat mechanic made sense. The right template was on, internet was stable, and for the first time in this entire grind, I was actually improving. It was during these matches that it finally clicked. I realized that Holosmith isn't really all about diving in headfirst into a 1 vs 2 and praying to come out victorious. Instead, it's all about capitalization. My job was to play smart, scout the edges, and burst down already vulnerable opponents. Once I stopped trying to be an immortal tank and started acting like an opportunist predator, the game completely changed. But one thing was still off. Despite everything improving, I still couldn't seem to win a single game. I sat there staring at the defeat screen, genuinely wondering, am I the problem here? And while my positioning and mechanics definitely played a factor, there was one glaring recurring problem that kept happening. AFK teammates. You can hit your combos perfectly and play like a god, but in a tight 5v5 arena, if someone decides to just sit in the spawn and rage quit, you're mathematically doomed. But regardless of my AFK teammates, I still played. I stopped caring about the win rate, stopped looking at the scoreboard, and I just locked in on one thing: actually improving. If my team was going to lose, I was at least going to make sure the enemy had to work for it. I focused on mastering my rotations, perfecting my heat management, and making every single engagement count. I was no longer just a casual player throwing bodies at a capture point, I was actively learning. One perfect example of this mechanical growth was learning the strategy of bleeding out opponents. Instead of immediately rushing in to stomp and finish a down player, this strategy essentially means leaving them on the ground to slowly bleed out on their own. The positives of this are huge. While they are bleeding out, they can't play. The respawn timer hasn't started yet. By delaying their death, it takes significantly longer for them to respawn, which in turn reduces the number of active players on the enemy team for a longer window. It's simple math. 5 versus 4 advantage for a longer duration means more map control for us. And that persistent mindset of always focusing on self-improvement, it finally started to yield some results. The screen that had always been plagued by defeat text for hours finally turned blue. I actually began winning games, not because I got lucky, and definitely not because of my teammates, but because I earned it. I was controlling the heat, leading out targets and securing the backcaps, and making a genuine impact. Victory never tasted so sweet. And the best part, even on the games we did lose, I was consistently pulling in the top stats. I was looking at the end game scoreboard and seeing my name locked in for the top damage, top kills, or top offense. Even when the team couldn't get the win, I knew I had personally played my heart out and executed the build exactly how it was meant to be played. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was a threat. And this was pretty evident because of my bursts on unsuspecting players. Once I learned how to time my cooldowns and catch people off guard, enemies were melting before they even realized I was there. I went from being the weak link to being able to solo hold objective against attackers. Buying my team precious time across the map, I finally found my rhythm. Finally being able to win these 1 versus 1s that I had previously struggled with both in PvP and back on the battlefields of World versus World, it felt amazing. All those hours spent getting punished, fighting through disconnected internet, bad equipment templates and AFK teammates had actually paid off. I wasn't panicked in solo fights anymore. I knew my class, I knew my limits, and most importantly, I knew how to win. With the recipe for success finally in my hands, the victories slowly but surely came to me. And not long after, I finally reached level 20 and officially unlocked ranked PvP. The tutorial phase was over and the real grind was about to begin. If you want to see how I handle the absolute chaos of ranked matchmaking in my journey from noob to veteran, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the mists.